What's up, guys? SCS Software is about to drop version 1.59, and this is a huge one. This is one that I've talked about before. I'm going to recount the news as they presented it. They just dropped a little bit of detail for us, and they're telling us what they're doing. This one is based on physics and suspension rework, and it's big because it affects the American Truck Simulator and European Truck Simulator. And that is, and I will get into detail in a little bit, because the new vehicles that are coming, the coaches and the regular cars, those will behave very differently. So therefore, that had to be adapted over to the trucks. If you guys have ever downloaded any of the regular vehicles like the Dodge Ram or any of the street cars, you've noticed that they actually behave a little bit like trucks. It's kind of odd. A lot of the car mods that you can download right now do not behave very well because of that reason. There's no good crossover between trucks and cars. So a lot of the simulation that's put into these small cars doesn't feel correct. So that's what they are here to fix. They are going to fix the dynamics and the suspension feeling so that we can have proper behaving vehicles like the Mustang that's coming, and also like the MAN coach that's coming. And those are two very different vehicles. At the same time, and we'll get into it, they're going to adapt the whole dynamic and the way the suspension of the game is working, but they're trying not to upset anyone because they don't want this game to start to feel completely different. They understand that's going to throw off a lot of people. So with that said, I'm going to start this bus here. That's right, we're in a bus. It's not the official coaches from SCS Software, but I couldn't help myself. We are in a bus. All right, guys, let's get going, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. A big part of this work meant revisiting the core systems that have been in the game for years. You know, the physics engine was originally designed around heavy trucks. They got long wheelbases, slower acceleration, and kind of predictable handling. So the new vehicles that they're adding, the smaller ones, you know, like I said, the Mustang and the Crown Victoria and all the other vehicles, they're a lot lighter, shorter, in some cases much more powerful. So all of those dynamics are changing. That's going to push the whole system beyond its original limits. So SCS clarified that these improvements aren't only for the new vehicles. The refinements that they've come across, that they've implemented on these vehicles, could also impact the trucks that we already drive every day. So, you know, everyone will benefit from this upgrade. The overall goal is to increase realism and responsiveness while keeping the original feel of the games that we love. You know, the European Truck Simulator, American Truck Simulator, you got to keep that intact, because imagine getting in the game and everything feels different all of a sudden. They emphasize that the driving experience should not feel, you know, suddenly like a different game. It's just going to be more refined, more believable, and more consistent. So even though a lot changed under the hood and just the way they're building suspension and the way the vehicles interact, the core identity of the driving model, that's going to remain the same. So one of the biggest changes involves throttle response. Previously, the throttle behavior was simplified. Now it uses a proper torque map based on engine data. So this means the truck responds in a more realistic way throughout the RPM range. I don't know if you ever experienced it, but a lot of these trucks just felt very on-off. Like, I don't know if there was throttle modulation or anything like that. It just felt pretty much very simplistic. You know, on top of that, they added more accurate engine resistance when you lift off the throttle. You know, because before the trucks would just kind of like glide down the street instead of having a bit more resistance and coming to a grind a little bit faster, especially under heavy engine load. So as a result, the coasting feels natural. It's going to slow down that in a way that it feels predictable, and it's going to cruise at its speeds that it's just going to have a lot of a smoother flow. They've also updated the way that vehicles behave on different surfaces. For example, wheels can now camber correctly when going off-road, which is how a real solid axle suspension behaves, even, you know, under even load. So turning the wheels now includes caster movement as well, which affects steering and overall stability. These details might be subtle to some people, but they contribute massively to how connected the vehicle feels to the road. So especially when the terrain isn't like perfectly flat and has all sorts of bumps and changes in elevation. Engine audio has also received attention. Turbochargers, which are my favorite. those sounds are pretty much more aligned closely to what the engine is actually doing. So this will help pretty much match the sound and performance, making the feedback you hear while you're driving feel a little bit more accurate. So the way that the turbo sounds more on a regular truck, that's that they're trying to infuse a lot more of that realism. Another change that players will notice happens when starting from a stop. The engine now revs briefly before moving to simulate that torque buildup. This kind of change gives the truck a slightly more alive feeling during takeoff, because this also created challenges on hill starts. So I don't know how many of you have watched my streams or seen my videos, but do not get me stuck on a hill because I am not going anywhere. So hopefully this gives the truck slightly more alive feeling during takeoff. So yeah, we'll also get hill start assist systems to ensure that the vehicle behaves consistently and it doesn't roll backwards in situations where torque buildup takes a moment. So a lot of these systems are built into regular trucks or into modern trucks already. So SCS also improved the experience for keyboard players. Not everyone has a massive setup or not everyone has a steering wheel. So the keyboard throttle was always basically on or off, right? So they created a new double throttle system to give players actual control instead of full power every time they tap that key. So holding the throttle key down applies partial throttle for smoother acceleration and easy cruising. If you need full power, like when you're overtaking or doing like a hill climb or something, you simply double tap the throttle key, and when you're done, you release the key and press it again to return to partial. This system is disabled by default, so they're going to let you activate that in 1.58 release. Now, preparing the physics for smaller vehicles wasn't just adding a handful of values. SCS said that they required revisiting deep systems that were built with only trucks in mind. So a lot of the stuff was built, like I said before, for heavy trucks. So expanding those meant reworking many of the parts of the physics engine, including how the game processed weight distribution, suspension behavior, acceleration, and stability. So they had very accurate physics models for trucks, but extending that to new vehicle types like the cars or the coaches required a lot of careful engineering. For ATS specifically, they made a major improvement for the collision geometry of almost all of the roads. This has a big impact on stability in certain situations. For example, the game used to calculate road curvature using a triangle-based collision mesh. When roads rolled or curved, those triangles sometimes created a microscopic, like a sawtooth pattern along the center of the lane. This could reduce friction on the wheels in certain angles, and it caused unpredictable handling. So especially at higher speeds, on curves or turning lanes, the updated collision model smooths out these transitions directly into the collision mesh, which gives better wheel contact and more consistent grip. So, everything's going to be more accurate. So update 1.58 should serve as a foundation for a larger series of improvements that they're planning. It's the first step towards supporting a wider variety of vehicles, as I said, with different performance profiles. Some of the vehicles coming with road trip will have extremely high power and torque, like the Viper, for example, levels that are much higher than the trucks that we're used to, which puts new demand on this physics engines, the assets, and even the world design. So this will be very, very needed and welcomed. They made it very clear that the road trip is not meant to be a racing expansion or a hardcore simulation. Okay, the objective is to let players experience the world in new types of vehicles without making it punishing or overly difficult. They may intentionally tune these vehicles so that mistakes aren't catastrophic. And so, again, you're not going to be able to wreck the vehicles, or much like we do today with the trucks. So as the road trip packs evolve, they may adjust the performance settings and the physics even further. So they know that, as always, they're always making better and better improvements. To close out on this announcement, SCS encouraged everyone to try the open beta when it becomes available very, very soon. They rely heavily on your guys' feedback, and they said that player input directly shapes the way these systems evolve. Yes, they're listening when you complain, and they're listening when you say thank you, so please try to do both. All right, guys, so that's the complete breakdown of the physics overhaul, a major update that improves realism, smoothness, and handling for both the trucks and the new vehicles that are coming to this game. I hope you enjoy this. I'm sorry if it's redundant. I know this information is available to everyone online, but I wanted to get out there in front of it and give it to you guys if you don't like reading blog posts. So yeah, there you go. Oh, hopefully you like this bus. And I am driving in Romania, a map that is a 1-to-1 scale map. That's right. You should enjoy it. All right, boys. See you on the road.